Now a new retelling of the anime. Before watching, I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel. The more subscribers, the more often new videos will be released. Yume and Mizuto become step-siblings after Yume's mother Uni married Mizuto's father Miniaki. Unfortunately, their parents are unaware they once dated in middle school. As such, they decide that anytime either of them acts like an ex, they must admit they are the younger sibling. While trying to provoke each other, Yume is tricked into using Mizuto's surname. At school, several boys pretend to be Mizuto's friends just to get closer to Yume. Angry on his behalf, Yume clings to Mizuto and claims she has a brother complex, so the boys back off, though Yume is embarrassed her breasts made contact with Mizuto's arm. For revenge, she decides to sit by him wearing only a bath towel, tricking him into peeking at her. This almost works, but she goes too far and her towel almost falls off until Mizuto actually helps her stay covered up. Defeated, she tries to leave but trips, and they fall on the sofa together. In this situation, with Yume almost naked, they forget about the game and almost kiss but are interrupted by their parents. They both realize situations like this are exactly why they no longer like each other. Mizuto is approached by Kogure Kawanami, who states he will be Mizuto's friend and has no intention of using him to get to Yume. During fitness exams, Akatsuki Minami excels at sports and Yume overdoes it trying to keep up and faints, though Mizuto catches her. Yume asks Minami to keep how bad she is at sports a secret, and they become friends. Mizuto aggravates Yume, though Minami suspects he was trying to be nice. Yume catches a fever and Minami insists on visiting her. A delirious Yume almost says something embarrassing to Mizuto until she sees Minami. Minami correctly deduces Mizuto once had a girlfriend and wonders if dating again will be awkward now he lives with a stepsister. She also asks if he sees Yume as more than a sister, but he denies this. Yume only falls asleep when Mizuto holds her hand, which he recalls they always did while they were dating if one of them was ill. After making several demands of him, Mizuto forces her to take her temperature again, revealing she had recovered but faked being ill so he would be nice to her. Mizuto forgives her after she apologizes. 6 months previously, while still dating, Yume obsessively kept every item Mizuto gave her. Today, Yume finds herself with a pair of Mizuto's underwear. Certain that having them counts as losing their game, she is determined to return them. She attempts to sneak into his room, only to find Mizuto doing the same thing with her bra. Despite their suspicion, they both admit they broke the rules and can freely demand one thing. The next day, Yume sees Mizuto with a girl, and when he brings the girl home, Yume uses her one demand to force him to go food shopping, leaving the girl alone in his room, but she disappears. Mizuto demands Yume check her room, but she insists nothing has been moved or taken. Mizuto is worried as the girl was actually Minami in disguise, and she had asked him to marry her because she is obsessed with Yume and marrying Mizuto would make Yume her sister. Kawanami, who is Minami's childhood friend, admits Minami can become intensely obsessed. As a favor, he tells Mizuto how to stop her. Mizuto later goes straight to Yume and for his demand, asks her on a date. On the day of the date, Yume frets constantly over Mizuto's motivation and for some reason finds herself extremely attracted to him. Via a flashback, it is shown the date was Kawanami's idea. The date becomes more tense as Mizuto's guilt mixes with Yume's genuine awkwardness. While Mizuto is in the bathroom, Yume becomes lost. Mizuto phones her, but Yume finds she is disappointed when he is nice to her and does not mock her with sarcasm. She remembers a similar situation of being lost on their first date until he found her. Mizuto finds her and this time he does mocks her, so they descend into their usual bickering and actually enjoy themselves. Mizuto is surprised they get on better as step-siblings than they did as lovers. After watching the date, Minami apologizes to Mizuto and promises to control herself. However, she reveals that she is not ready to give up her Yume obsession yet. Still confused over him asking for a date, Yume demands Mizuto submit to a punishment of sitting for a photo shoot, since she still currently finds him very attractive and takes hundreds of photos. Yume asks Mizuto to help buy a gift for Uni for Mother's Day. As such, they buy roses, which makes Uni cry tears of joy. Mizuto later prays at the shrine of his mother, who died when he was very young. As their parents are technically newlyweds, Mizuto suggests he and Yume give them a night alone by leaving the house. His suggestion of a cheap love hotel is rejected, so Mizuto decides to stay overnight at Kawanami's while Yume sleeps next door at Minami's. Kawanami admits to Mizuto that he and Minami were best friends once, but despite living next door they have drifted apart. The boys prank each other by yelling embarrassing things through the thin walls, making both girls mad at them. After dinner at a restaurant, Kawanami points out to Mizuto that while he and Minami argue openly about everything, Mizuto and Yum argue by trying to trick, undermine, and outdo each other, which does not seem healthy. Later that night, Mizuto and Yum meet on separate balconies. Mizuto comments that unless their parents have an unexpected divorce, they will be stuck as step-siblings forever, which makes both of them sad. Exams are approaching and Yum, as top-ranked student, is determined to maintain her position and beat Mizuto. After the first exam, she is furious when she discovers Mizuto deliberately lowered his own score to let her win. Yum starts to wonder if their rivalry was ever real. However, after the exams are over, Yum discovers Mizuto has replaced her as top-ranked student, though he challenges her to beat him during finals if winning is so important. Yum realizes now she is second. She does not feel the pressure to be perfect and actually relaxes, which is what Mizuto had been trying to teach her. She rushes to find him to confess her love again, but finds him talking to another girl, Isana Higashira, a severe introvert. Despite having met only recently, Mizuto considers Higashira his closest friend. Yum tries to hide her jealousy, but Mizuto automatically knows what is happening. First, he tricks her into becoming flustered, then demands to know what is wrong. Yum admits her jealousy, so he antagonizes her so she returns to normal. After meeting Higashira, Yum is convinced they are just friends. Yum and Minami interrogate Higashira over liking Mizuto. Minami declares she and Yum will help her get a date with Mizuto, but Higashira refuses as she prefers to just remain friends. Yum realizes Higashira is unsure of herself, just like she was in middle school. After watching Mizuto with Higashira at school, Yum and Minami are forced to admit Mizuto is not romantically interested. To kickstart some interest, Minami insists Higashira use her breasts to entice him. However, Mizuto fails to take an interest. Yum realizes trying to change Higashira's personality to attract Mizuto is wrong. Minami decides to give her a makeover instead, but Mizuto barely reacts except to tease her. As a last resort, Minami tells Higashira to confess as soon as possible. Higashira manages to give a heartfelt confession, but Mizuto lets her down gently, explaining that while he is sure they would make a good couple, his heart already belongs to someone else. Yum is upset Mizuto still has such strong feelings he keeps hidden. Higashira returns to being Mizuto's friend and finds she enjoys it more knowing there is no romantic tension. Higashira asks to see Mizuto's book collection, stating she would feel safe in his room since he already rejected her. Yum and Minami insist on updating Higashira's clothing, still hoping Mizuto might show romantic interest. However, due to Higashira's ample bust, everything she wears looks risque. Minami decides Higashira should dress like Yum, though to avoid looking like a copycat, Minami insists Yum also change clothes. Higashira finds a skirt she likes, but Yum worries they have made Higashira too attractive. During the visit, Higashira is astonished at the size of Mizuto's book collection. Yum insists on joining them as a chaperone and is surprised to see them acting so casually. In private, Higashira admits to Yum she thinks she will always have feelings for Mizuto, but will stay as friends to keep him in her life. Mizuto later wonders if he and Yum had remained friends instead of dating, would they now be as close as he is with Higashira? In the past, Yum was nervous the first time she entered Mizuto's room, thinking they might be ready to have sex, but all they did was read books. This upset Yum and made Mizuto angry at himself. Yum was further disappointed when she and Mizuto were placed in separate classrooms. This forced separation allowed Yum to make her first friend. Unfortunately, Mizuto became jealous and snapped at Yum. When he tried to apologize, she accused him of cheating on her with another girl, resulting in them not speaking to each other. Weeks later, they attempted to reconcile, but pride and embarrassment caused their relationship to stagnated to the point they did not speak for months and did not celebrate their one-year anniversary, Christmas, New Year's Eve, or even Valentine's Day. Finally, on the day they graduated middle school, they broke up as Mizuto could no longer handle both loving and hating Yum at the same time. 2 weeks later, their parents announced their engagement and Yum and Mizuto became step-siblings. Now in the present, during yet another argument, they both blame each other for not having sex the first time Yum visited Mizuto's room. Yum spots a cockroach in her room and insists on sharing Mizuto's bed. Mizuto struggles with his feelings but does his best to forget them. While arguing the next day, their parents tease them. Miniaki announces they will be visiting his family for Obon, and as there will be swimming in the local river, Yuni insists Yum and Mizuto buy swimsuits. Yum is unsure about the suit she chooses and asks Mizuto's opinion. He compliments her, but they are both embarrassed. Walking home, they pass the wall where they had their first kiss. Higashira later visits, and Yume becomes jealous. Higashira is likewise jealous when Mizuto and Yume casually drink from the same cup. Mizuto ends up falling asleep in Yume's lap. Higurashi is tempted to kiss him, though Yume dissuades her. Higurashi then reveals she is tempted to try a friends with benefits relationship with Mizuto. Higurashi leaves, and though Yume is also tempted to kiss Mizuto, she also realizes forgetting her feelings would be for the best. Yuni is curious about Higurashi and Mizuto and comments that Yume will probably find a boyfriend soon. However, Yume finds it impossible to picture dating anyone except Mizuto. Everyone visits Miniaki's family, which includes Mizuto's second cousin, Madoka. Madoka senses something about Yume and Mizuto and reveals even as a child, Mizuto resisted becoming close to people. Later, Yume finds Mizuto in his great-grandfather's office reading his autobiography detailing his time as a prisoner of war and meeting a Siberian woman called Elise. Mizuto suspects the book shaped his personality growing up, so he asks Yume to read it. After reading the tragic love story, Yume begins to understand Mizuto. After she asks about Mizuto's first love, Yume concludes it was Madoka. Madoka later asks if Yume is in love with Mizuto, but Yume is unsure. Madoka realizes Yume keeps finding excuses not to love Mizuto and decides to help by tricking them into spending time alone. Having read the autobiography and met Mizuto's family, Yume knows she has been selfish. Seeing her cry, Mizuto comforts her. She asks about Madoka, but he denies ever loving Madoka and teases her for the mistake, causing her to laugh. As he leaves, Mizuto reiterates that his first love loved to laugh. Yume blushes at the implication she was actually Mizuto's first love. Everyone attends a fireworks festival. Mizuto takes pictures with Yume's phone, somehow already knowing her password. Before the fireworks, Mizuto abruptly disappears. Madoka explains that every year, Mizuto watches the fireworks alone. Piecing together everything she has learned since becoming his stepsister, Yume realizes she never knew the real him. Mizuto reflects on how books were the only thing that made him feel any emotion until he met Yume. Yume then finds him at the shrine and reveals her phone passcode was the date of their first kiss. When she asks why he decided to date her, he admits the truth. Yume kisses Mizuto and swears she will make him her boyfriend again, somehow. Madoka is thrilled Yume made the first move. Returning to home and to school, Mizuto finds that Higashira and Kawanami are competing to be his closest friend. Yume and Mizuto both separately conclude they must move on from their past relationship and begin a new one, though it is alright to stay as step-siblings for now. Masamune-kun is introduced as a handsome guy who lives with his sister Chinatsu Hayes and his mother Kinyu Hayes, but he is self-conscious about high-calorie foods. On his first day of high school, Masamune witnesses Shigeo Yamada being publicly humiliated and rejected by Aki Adagaki. Masamune quickly befriends classmates Tei Futaba and Kojiro Shuri. When Aki finds classmate Akio Tanabe, she reads aloud his love letter and tears it up before rejecting him. Aki got the nickname Cruel Princess due to her family wealth and cruel methods of rejecting boys. Masamune recalls that Aki rejected him when they were childhood friends. Thanks to Kojiro, Masamune collects information about Aki, rumored to always eat alone despite being surrounded by her female friends. Masasan follows Aki's maid Yoshino Koiwai to a storage closet, where he learns that Aki is prone to hypoglycemia and needs to eat in large quantities in order to satisfy her appetite. Aki promises that Masamune will regret it if he ever exposes her secret. During volleyball practice, Kojiro says that there are rumors about Masamune and Aki being friends. After school, while Yoshino runs to the store to get some bread, Aki encounters an envious Akio who attempts to cut Aki's hair. Masamune suddenly intercepts and causes Akio to run away. When Masamune was a chubby boy in the past, he visited Aki at her mansion, only for her to reject him and call him Pig's Foot. Ever since then, he seeks revenge to win her heart before dumping her, calling it the dead or love plan. The next morning, after reconciling with Akio, Masamune finds an anonymous letter in his shoe locker with Pig's Foot written on it, fearing that someone might know about his past. Masamune becomes very cautious around his classmates. He was previously adopted by his grandfather, and his last name was changed 8 years ago. During the lunchtime stampede at the cafeteria, he reluctantly helps Yoshino buy 5 explosive croquette buns and 4 cutlet sandwiches. Accompanying Yoshino to the storage closet, Masamune meets a dead end with Aki when he tries to find out who wrote the anonymous letter. After Masamune receives a juice box from Yoshino without a smile, Aki states that Yoshino has a habit of serving others, though Yoshino is expected to always serve Aki. Before taking his leave, Masamune tells Aki that he wants to serve her, causing Aki to blush. After lunchtime, Masamune is caught in a snare trap surprisingly set up by Yoshino. She releases him and explains that the Koiwai family has been attendants to the Otagaki family for 300 years. Yoshino even offers to help Masamune execute his revenge plan. In the hallway on the way to class, Masamune runs into Tae, who invites him to an upcoming class barbecue. He attempts to exchange email addresses with her, but he chickens out and asks Kojiro for advice. Tae learns that the school beautification committee lost a member, so Masamune volunteers to fill in the vacancy, but he is unable to get closer to Aki. In the classroom, Tae asks Masamune out on a movie date, but he kindly declines. When Tae leaves, Aki suddenly appears before Masamune. When Masamune attempts to exchange email addresses with Aki, she claims that her cell phone is being repaired. The following week, Masamune is sent on a wild goose chase all over school set up by Aki, who frustrates him with a written rejection. Yoshino then tells Masamune that she will help him go on dates with Aki. Tae announces that all her classmates will need to attend supplementary classes for a month if any student fails the proficiency test. Masamune decides to tutor Kojiro since he scored extremely low on his midterm exam. After Masamune sees Aki tutoring Yoshino nearby, Masasun and Aki each make a wager between who will score higher. Aki is surprised to learn from Yoshino that Masamune was the only student to get a perfect score on his transfer exam. Masamune receives a phone call from Yoshino, who says that she is unable to help him in the wager. Later on, Chinatsu and Kinyu are shocked to see Masamune studying instead of working out. On the day of the proficiency test, Yoshino gives Masamune a black iced coffee from the vending machine while telling him that all his studying does not matter. He starts to have a stomachache at the beginning of the proficiency test, theorizing that Aki ordered Yoshino to lace the drink with laxatives. However, he finds out that Aki was absent from a fever, and his boxed lunch caused the stomachache. Masamune and Aki end up being the only students to attend the supplementary classes. Masamune later meets Aki at the train station for a date. He sees her cosplaying as a magical girl, as she believes this to be the first date dress code. Masamune and Aki watch a horror movie in the theater with one empty seat between them. When they eat at a restaurant, a young girl asks Aki about her cosplay costume. After Masamune tells Aki that the first date dress code does not exist, Aki changes clothes in a dressing room. Masamune accidentally sees Aki in her undergarments, and she knocks him unconscious. Masamune reminisces about his first encounter with Aki at her mansion when they were children. When Masamune wakes up from Aki's lap at a park bench, she leaves after he apologizes for startling her. Yoshino contacts Masamune, saying that she agreed to help him with the revenge plan in efforts to make Aki humbler. Masamune reads a shoujo manga called Rose-Eyed Steroid, featuring the characters Eiji and Momo, in order to gather ideas to execute his revenge plan. He stares at Aki during supplementary class and offers her an umbrella when it begins to rain outside. Yoshino later tells Masamune to stop being creepy towards Aki, advising him to back off a bit. Because of this, he starts to ignore Aki, even when she tries to return his umbrella. Aki soon stops Masamune in the hallway, consequently being flustered when trying to confront him as to why she is being ignored. He admits that he ignored her on purpose because he likes her, and he runs away after saying that he likes everything about her. In the schoolyard, Yoshino refuses to give Masamune advice. Masamune writes a love letter and gives it to Aki, but she throws it away right in front of him. Aki runs away after saying that Masamune is acting like a selfish jerk. While Yoshino assures Masamune that she will take care of the matter, Aki runs to a playground, where she recalls seeing Masamune and Yoshino together in the schoolyard. Yoshino finds Aki at the playground and clears up the misunderstanding by saying that Masamune just needed some advice, especially since Yoshino is aware that Aki likes Masamune back. Afterwards, Aki crosses an intersection while thinking about Masamune. When an oncoming car approaches Aki, Masamune rescues her from danger in the nick of time. A girl wearing a rosary comes out of the car and hugs Masamune, but he does not recognize her at all. The girl believes her prayers were answered for having a chance meeting with Masamune. She is then told by her bodyguard Shido that they are running late. Once they depart, Aki walks off in a huff after witnessing everything. The next day at school, Masamune buys food during the lunchtime stampede, but he is then shot repeated by Yoshino with an air gun. Yoshino leaves after Masamune confesses that he does not know the girl. Masamune delivers the food outside the storage closet without meeting Aki. He is shocked to learn that the girl, recognized as Nico Fujinomiya, is a transfer student in his class. Masamune soon learns from Tae that Nico transferred into the school just because of him. Nico reveals that Masamune offered his coat to her during Christmas 3 years ago. However, he realizes that she was not referring to him because he was still chubby during that time. He grabs her by the hand and takes her outside, confronting her as to why she she made up a lie, though she says that the truth is embarrassing. As Masamune admits having unrequited love for someone else, he takes Nico to see Aki in her class. When a boy opens the classroom window, Masamune and Aki discover that Nico mysteriously does not wear panties. Masamune tries to stop Aki when she leaves the classroom, but Aki accidentally punches a teacher in the face, causing Masamune and Aki to clean the swimming pool as punishment. Masamune sprays water from a hose on Aki, then Aki carries a bucket of water in order to get even. Aki trips and falls into the swimming pool and starts to drown, prompting Masamune to dive in and rescue her, though the swimming pool turns out to be rather shallow. Aki is surprised that Masamune saved her despite him avoiding to get wet. He admits that his body moved on its own, as well as the fact that he likes her, so she asks him to prove it by kissing her. In the schoolyard, Nico asks Yoshino where Masamune and Aki have been, but Yoshino says that she has no idea. At the swimming pool, Aki backs out before a hesitant Masamune tries to kiss her. When the swim team including Tae arrive for swimming practice, Aki leaves Masamune in the swimming pool. Masamune dries off in the schoolyard, where Nico sits beside him and offers hot tea filled with hydrating vitamins and minerals. He asks her about what she likes about him, and she answers that he is amazingly modest, a response that was unexpected of him. Yoshino follows Nico all the way towards Masamune's home. When Yoshino is noticed by Shido, Nico tells Shido that Yoshino is an attendant for Aki. Masamune arrives home, only to find out that Kinyu recruited Yoshino and Nico to assist in making fried shrimp in the kitchen. Yoshino notices all the gym equipment that Masamune has in his bedroom. When Nico finds the two, she says that Chinatsu just came home and the fried shrimp is ready. At the dining table, Masamune prevents Chinatsu from revealing his past. Masamune complains about the high calories and Nico complains about the low nutrients, much to Kinyu's worry. After eating, Chinatsu lights up fireworks. Yoshino tells Masamune about a time when Aki attached her to a bunch of fireworks in order to simulate a rocket launch, though Yoshino was blind and deaf for a week. Nico then tells Masamune that she admires Chinatsu, despite Masamune finding Chinatsu annoying. Kinyu and Chinatsu also have a watermelon seed spitting contest. While Shido drives Nico to her house, Masamune walks Yoshino to the main road, as Yoshino tells Masamune to avoid falling in love with Aki. It is revealed that Nico has stolen a childhood photo of Masamune and Aki. The next day in the storage closet, Masamune tells Aki that she is amazingly modest, but she says that he is too conceited to accept being a moron. As summer vacation finally begins, Masamune plans his next move to get closer to Aki, convincing her to invite him to her summer villa in Tsunade Island, along with Nico, Tae, and Kojiro. On the yacht, Yoshino informs Masamune that her research on Nico came up short. Yoshino threatens Masamune that she will reveal the whole story up to this moment if he does not make Aki fall in love with him by the end of the trip. At Tsunade Island, Adagaki family secretary Midori Yusaki welcomes Masamune, Aki, Yoshino, Nico, Tae, and Kojiro to the summer villa. Masamune riskily declares that he is dating Aki, somehow convincing Yusaki. Aki is reluctant to pretend dating Masamune for the duration of the trip. At the beach, Nico gets extra close with Masamune when she wants him to apply sunscreen on her. Aki comes in between them and advises Nico to back off from her cheap flirting tricks. When Aki takes Masamune to an isolated area of the beach, she orders him to bring her back some lunch. While Masamune fetches a boxed lunch from Yusaki in the kitchen, Yusaki suggests for Masamune to visit a haunted mansion, though Yusaki secretly expresses envy towards Masamune for dating Aki. In the past, Yusaki witnessed a young Aki rejecting all the boys after she was abandoned by the chubby Masamune. In the present, Masamune, Aki, Yoshino, Nico, Tae, and Kojiro enter the haunted mansion at night one by one. Yusaki originally plans to cosplay as Ghostface in order to scare Masamune. However, Yoshino cosplays as Jason Voorhees and scares Yusaki, who runs away and ends up scaring Aki, Tae, and Kojiro in the process. Yusaki flees outside and encounters a spooky Nico, causing Yusaki to run into a pole. While Masamune later carries Yusaki on his back, he confides in her that he is not dating Aki. The next morning on the yacht, Yoshino respects Masamune for his risky strategy. Yoshino says that she will not say anything to Aki, but Yoshino states that she will not help Masamune if he cannot help himself. Masamune is contacted by Aki during his workout routine. He then tells Yoshino that Aki wants to meet in person in order to return a bag that he left at the summer villa. In his bedroom, Masamune realizes that the childhood photo of him and Aki has disappeared, certain that Nico stole it. Aki returns the bag to Masamune at a diner, though Masamune is bent on Nico stealing his childhood photo. Aki leaves after Masamune ignores her. Nico contacts Masamune and invites him to a water park with Tae. Masamune visits Nico in the afternoon at her apartment, where Nico makes hot tea. He snoops around her bedroom, filled with various pills and shoujo manga, but she eventually finds him. After she admits that she became interested in Rose-Eyed Steroid because of him, she comes clean with Masamune's childhood photo. Nico kisses Masamune unexpectedly, saying that health is more important than looks. As Masamune contemplates that appearance is only one aspect of a person, he reveals that he had a snobbish attitude when he was chubby. Before taking his childhood photo with him, Masamune tells Nico that he cannot be with her, adding that his heart belongs to Aki. The next morning, a groggy Masamune meets with Aki, Yoshino, Tae, and Kojiro at the water park, though Nico decided to cancel on them. Later on, Shido rushes to inform the others that Nico has run away from the apartment since the morning. To make matters worse, the pills that Nico are actually anticonvulsants, and she puts on a cheerful facade to mask her fragile condition. Since Shido is aware that Masamune previously visited Nico's apartment, Masamune confesses that he rejected Nico and chose Aki. As Aki ignores Masamune's confession, Shido informs everyone that Nico left her cell phone and wallet at the apartment. Leaving Masamune behind outside the water park, Shido drives Aki, Yoshino, Tae, and Kojiro as they split up around town in search of Nico. Masamune and Aki end up together at the school, where Aki empathizes Masamune for rejecting Nico, yet pities Nico for wallowing in misery. Masamune asks Aki if she knows about the nickname Pig's Foot, but many love letters in the form of paper planes appear in the sky, leading them to find Nico on the school rooftop. Nico collapses in Masamune's arms, and she is sent to the hospital. Masamune contemplates if rejecting Nico was worth it, and he then visits her in the hospital room, where she starts talking about the past. It is shown that Nico was invited to a birthday party by 3 girls, but her condition was brought up when they mentioned tennis. Nico's grandfather suggested for her to undergo surgery, even though her condition would not be cured. She wanted the chance of falling in love, and she decided to pursue Masamune. Nico enjoys the chase of falling in love, noting that she and Masamune are very much alike. Aside from experiencing unrequited love for herself, she is satisfied that Masamune will not follow the same path. In the hospital lobby, Tae tells Yoshino and Kojiro that she had feelings for Masamune, though she is glad to have friends. When Masamune comes back to the hospital lobby, he walks past Aki on his way out. While heading home, Masamune worries that he will end up on the same path of unrequited love, though he is still determined to execute his revenge plan. Outside her mansion, Aki recalls her conversation with Nico in the hospital room, in which Nico questioned Aki about her persistence of doubting Masamune's love. Aki believes that Masamune was very attractive when he was chubby. Masamune packs a duffel bag and leaves Chinatsu and Kinyu. Aki is approached by a boy who resembles a chubby Masamune. Yoshino's father is shocked to learn from a letter that the boy, introduced as Kanetsugu Gasso, is betrothed to Aki. As summer vacation ends, Aki rejects the head player of the varsity baseball team outside school. Despite this, Tae, Sonoka Kaneko, and Mari Mizuno are shocked to see that Aki has gone soft around Kanetsugu when the two head off to class. Masamune is surprised that Nico has returned to school after recovering from her surgery in the past month, while Nico realizes that Masamune did not make any progress with his revenge plan. When Masamune goes to see Aki after class, he is surprised to see that Kanetsugu is not only a transfer student in her class, but also is engaged to her. Yoshino takes Masamune to the storage closet, where she confirms that Aki and Kanetsugu are living together at the mansion. Masamune observes that Kanetsugu is an exceptional soccer player, is very academically smart, and is inclined to sit next to Aki during lunchtime. After school, Tae, Sonoka, and Mari meet up at a fast food restaurant in order to discuss how Aki has changed. The next day at school, Tae proposes a play for the Osaka Festival, in which Kojiro and Masamune will star as Snow White and Prince Charming. After class, Masamune corners Aki against a wall in the hallway, but he is bereft of words, causing Aki to walk back to Kanetsugu. Tae, Sonoka, and Mari intend to protect Aki from Masamune as the three recall the conversation with Kanetsugu at the fast food restaurant, revealing that Kanetsugu does not plan to kiss Aki even though he is engaged to her. Sonoka uses her status as the student council vice president in order to deny approval for the proposal of Class 2B to produce the play. Tae and Masamune learn that Class 2A had the same proposal for Aki and Kanetsugu. To solve this issue, Masamune suggests a promotional competition for a poll between both plays. Masamune also wagers with Kanetsugu, in which the winner gets to dance with Aki at the after-party. Tae acts sternly towards Kojiro during a stage rehearsal of the play in the school gymnasium. Kojiro runs out in the hallway and encounters Nico, who is on her way to the school gymnasium carrying her costume. Kanetsugu approaches Masamune in the schoolyard, boasting that he gives Aki some chocolates during breaks. While Aki and Kanetsugu walk towards the food trucks after school, Kanetsugu reminisces that his poor parents wanted him to marry a rich girl. Masamune gets sick at home after exercising in his underwear, prompting Chinatsu to summon Kinyu, who wraps Masamune in blankets. On the day of the Yasaka festival, Sonoka hosts the promotional competition for the plays. Nico takes Masamune to the school infirmary, where she instinctively knows that he was sick and tucks him in the bed. She leaves after saying that she would not mind being his dance partner at the after-party. With an hour before the performance, Kojiro finds Nico at the food stalls. In the school gymnasium, they inform Tae that Masamune has gone missing. Meanwhile, a skilled kendo practitioner named Kikuni Kiba has captured Masamune in a closet and wrapped him in blankets. Mari orders Kikuni to keep Masamune hostage until Aki and Kanetsugu finish dancing at the after-party. Aki finds out that Kanetsugu also has gone missing. Yoshino previously disguised herself as the evil queen and locked Kanetsugu in another closet. Kikuni releases Masamune after he accuses her of being unfair. Masamune confidently waits for his friends to rescue him after realizing from Mari that Kanetsugu is also taken hostage. Aki tells Mari that the show must go on without Kanetsugu. After receiving a message from Mari saying to leave Masamune and find Kanetsugu, a furious Kikuni chases Masamune out the window, but she falls into the fountain below while he hangs onto the ledge. Tae and Kojiro tell Masamune that Aki is still performing without Kanetsugu, prompting Masamune to run back inside. Masamune runs to the school gymnasium, where he is in awe that Class 2A began their play without Kanetsugu. To prevent Aki from humiliating herself as Snow White, Masamune ignores Mari's objections and volunteers to be Prince Charming, thanks to Nico. During the scene where Snow White ate the poisoned apple and dies in a coffin with the 7 dwarfs tearfully surrounding her, Prince Charming appears on stage. Despite being stricken with a fever, Masamune pushes through and manages to kiss Aki, but she punches him in embarrassment as the play comes to a close. During the after-party, students of Class 2A and Class 2B eventually decide to have a karaoke battle as a tiebreaker for the competition. Tae, Aki, Nico, and Yoshino each select songs, singing with mics and scoring pretty high. However, Sonoka and Kikuni catch on to Masamune as he tries to escape from the karaoke battle. Aki and Nico even perform a duet together. When it is Masamune's turn to sing, he ends up scoring the lowest despite burning 15 calories. Afterwards, Masamune and Aki sit on a park bench while waiting for Yoshino to come back from shopping. Masamune and Aki discuss how he stepped in during her play. He asks her to kiss him, but he ends up being fed a sweet baked potato just when Yoshino returns. When Aki and Yoshino leave, Masamune plots to execute his revenge plan during a class trip to Paris. Yoichi Karasuma has spent 17 years learning the Uchiha Divine Wind style of swordplay from his father in the mountains. His father has nothing more to teach Yoichi and orders him to experience life in the city with the Ikaragas, who can teach Yoichi new martial arts. Ryo Washizu ridicules Yoichi's samurai clothes in the city, but Yoichi easily defeats him. Ibuki Ikaruga and her sister Kagome wait in the city to pick up Yoichi. He later chases after a thief, causing mayhem in a shopping center. During the pursuit, Yoichi unknowingly encounters the Ikaragas in embarrassing situations. He successfully stops the thief and returns a lost Kagome to Ibuki. Outside the shopping center, Ibuki asks him if he is Yoichi, which he acknowledges. The police arrest him for causing mayhem but release him afterwards. Ibuki takes him to her dojo and introduces him to her sisters, Ayam, Chihaya, and Kagome. Ibuki reads Yoichi's lewd haiku about her and sends him flying into Ayam's room. The two sisters take him to Yako Private High School, where he is in the same class as Washizu and Ibuki. Ibuki notices Yoichi being questioned by female students, takes him out in the hall, and beats him once again. Washizu, seeking to redeem his reputation, challenges Yoichi to a match with most of the school watching. Yoichi easily defeats him without weapons but catches a fever afterwards. The academic rivalry between Ayam and Ibuki is revealed. Later, Yoichi and Ibuki apologize to each other for their actions earlier in the day, to Ayam's dismay. Tsubasa Tsubame, a clumsy and shy girl, transfers into Ibuki and Yoichi's class. When Yoichi comments on her cuteness, Ibuki quickly beats him. It is revealed that Tsubasa once lived in the mountains without any luxury to learn martial arts with her subordinate Angela Takatsukasa. After school, Angela strips Tsubasa's clothes off in front of Ibuki and Yoichi to transform Tsubasa into a skilled martial artist. Tsubasa attacks Yoichi, but Washizu interrupts the fight, covers her with his jacket, and offers to fight Yoichi for her. This pulls Tsubasa out of her stupor, and she flees the scene crying. Later, she tells Angela that she hates her and martial arts. However, they later apologize to each other. The next day, they start working at a restaurant with Tsubasa making deliveries and Angela cooking. Chihaya is having trouble finishing her manga in time. Meanwhile, Ibuki and Yoichi demonstrate sword fighting by sparring in front of Ibuki's 4 students and Ayam. Yoichi accidentally rips Ibuki's clothes with a sword swing, and she punishes him for it. Chihaya decides to interview Yoichi for her manga. She takes Yoichi into her room, shows him her manga, and starts seducing him. Ibuki walks in and beats Yoichi up. He crashes into Kagome and breaks her craft project, and Ibuki beats him up for making Kagome cry. She then orders Yoichi to bring Chihaya, who is at cram school, her notebook. Meanwhile, Yoichi overhears 3 boys talking about Chihaya behind her back and hinting at having ruined her work. He runs into the classroom and, seeing her with her torn manga draft, beats up the boys. Ibuki is afraid that Yoichi will damage the Soaring Wind's reputation because he was invited on a date by Yui Hinagata and takes him on a practice date. They go to a toy shop where she shows interest in a plushie. Ayam sees the two together and follows them with Chihaya and Kagome. Ibuki goes bowling with Yoichi and attempts to take his hand afterward, but he turns around and she trips, causing both to fall into a fountain. Yoichi gives Ibuki the plushie and thanks her for the practice date. She remembers that this is not a real date and rushes off to buy drinks, with Chihaya and Kagome watching them behind bushes. Hinagata meets Yoichi near the fountain, and he declines her request for a date. She then fights him with a 3-section staff. Yoichi ruins Yui's uniform, and she runs away. Ibuki is meanwhile confronted by 2 men who criticize her for being with Yoichi. Yoichi, Chihaya, and Kagome hear Ibuki's voice and rush to her aid to find that she has defeated her assailants. Washizu is hit by Ibuki while she chases after Yoichi for looking at naked female sculptures. In the school infirmary, Washizu daydreams about confessing his love to Ibuki and returning her handkerchief by putting a letter into her shoe locker. Washizu acts on his daydream. However, because he put the love letter into the wrong locker, it ends up in Yoichi's hand. Yoichi misinterprets the letter and thinks that Washizu is interested in learning martial arts. Washizu returns Ibuki's handkerchief to her via Yoichi. Meanwhile, an assassin is assigned to kill Yoichi. Keita Torigaya accompanies Washizu to Ibuki's dojo, where they meet her 4 other students. Ibuki greets them all and assigns Yoichi to teach Washizu. With extra money from Chihaya's manga reprinting, Chihaya and Kagome buy food and drink for the newcomer. In the dojo, Yoichi hits Washizu with a stick every time his attention wavers from his Saiza position. Ibuki makes Yoichi and Washizu perform 1,000 push-ups in front of the students, with the students and Ibuki counting for them. After both collapse at 1,000 push-ups, Kagome and Chihaya arrive with dinner and they eat together. Ibuki feeds Washizu and Ayam does the same with Yoichi. The group meet up at an empty beach after winning a lottery ticket. 2 brothers, students of the Saginomiya clan, are assigned to defeat Yoichi. One brother releases a trained bird to attack the group, which targets the girls. Yoichi crash tackles the girls out of harm's way but embarrasses them. Everyone goes into the water to play with the exception of Kagome. When Ibuki questions her, she runs into the forest and Masashi, one of Ibuki's students, follows her. Kagome falls into a cavern and breaks her fall by landing on Masashi. While the rest of the group search for them, Masashi and Kagome rush out an exit only to find out that it leads to a cliff face high above the sea. Masashi falls and manages to grab onto a tree branch but soon relinquishes his grip. The group catches up to Kagome and Yoichi dives into the water to save him. At that moment, the 2 brothers greet the group on surfboards and they challenge Yoichi to fight. Meanwhile, Masashi regroups with the others. With a Bakken, Yoichi defeats the brothers with his swordplay. It is revealed that Kagome refuses to participate in water activities because of her embarrassment about her budding breasts, which she continues to bind with cloth. Washizu is determined to confess to Ibuki about his love letter. He walks into a shop to buy a drink and sees Ayam choosing the same bottle, causing an argument. After training in Ibuki's dojo, Washizu fails to give the love letter to her. Ayam also fails to give Yoichi a towel. Washizu's love letter falls out of his kikuji, and Ayam picks it up. Washizu tears the letter up before she can read it and falls on her. At the same time, Tsubasa is on a ramen delivery run for the dojo and opens the door to see Washizu on Ayam. Tsubasa gets flustered, drops the ramen boxes, and flees. While eating ramen, Yoichi comments on Washizu's mellowness. It is revealed that Washizu has beaten up the toughest high school gang in the area. The gang walks into the dojo and kidnaps Ayam. Threatening to spread revealing photos of her, they beat Washizu up. Yoichi intervenes and with Washizu's help, beat up the members of the gang. When Yoichi hits Washizu for daydreaming, he runs out of the dojo and shouts his confession to Ibuki, which Ayam overhears and thinks is for her. Upon returning, Washizu is paired with Ayam, and they spar aggressively with Bakans. Toragaya and Washizu make a rigged ballot for a local festival. The groups are Ayam and Washizu, Yoichi and Ibuki, with Chihaya, Kagome, and Toragaya in the final group. During the course of the festival, the Sajinomiya clan siblings plot against Yoichi. Yoichi runs to a shooting gallery owned by the Sajinomiya clan and futilely tries to win a prize. Ibuki wins the main prize for a family to go to a hot springs with a little help from Sakan Sajinomiya, deputy of the Sajinomiya clan. At the same time, Ayam constantly hurls abuse at Washizu until he clears up her misunderstanding of his confession. Washizu sees Ibuki and Yoichi in the distance and rushes off with Ibuki to leave Yoichi to Ayam. He finds that the person he rushed off with is actually Tsubasa with a haunted house mask. It is revealed the Sajinomiya clan tricked Ibuki into winning the hot springs trip due to clan leader Yukio Sajinomiya's crush on her. Yoichi and the group go to a hot springs for free. They eat dinner with their host, who blames the lack of guests on ghosts. Yoichi and Ibuki volunteer to exorcise the ghosts and leave the inn. Immediately after, Yukio and his sister Sakan release a sleeping gas throughout the inn. Yoichi and Ibuki fall into a hole after arriving at the entrance to a cave and are knocked unconscious. Yoichi wakes up to find Ayam next to him, who starts seducing him. Meanwhile, Ibuki wakes up and sees Yukio, who tries to rekindle their friendship. Sakan is revealed to be pretending to be Ayam, and she releases a sleeping gas. Ibuki instantly falls asleep, but Yoichi manages to resist the effects of the gas to an extent. Yukio and his sister take Ibuki away, leaving Yoichi struggling to get back to the inn. He is faced with a series of assailants at the inn and beats all except one. Ayam saves Yoichi, and he defeats the remaining opponent. They find Kagome and Chihaya and wake them up to search for Ibuki together. Because of the Sajinomiya siblings' sleeping gas, Ibuki's mind reverts to when she was 4. Her clumsiness and refusal to acknowledge Kagome's existence make her a burden to those around her. Yukio and Sakan arrive at the dojo, proposing the Ikaraga's a first-class celebrity lifestyle in exchange for Ibuki. Meanwhile, Washizu and Toragaya find Ibuki lying face down in front of her dojo. Washizu buys Ibuki new clothes and plays with her. Yukio forces Yoichi to learn swordcraft with Angela. Meanwhile, the Sajinomiyas stun Washizu and kidnap Ibuki. Chihaya and Ayam discover that Kagome is missing and, after a brief search, find her in her room crying and hugging her craft project. This gives the others an initiative to find Ibuki. Yoichi tells Angela to wait for him. He, Ayam, Kagome, and Chihaya leave the dojo in search of Ibuki. Meanwhile, Tsubasa finds Washizu and carries him to a hospital. Yoichi, Kagome, Chihaya, and Ayam arrive at the Sajinomiya's residence and cross the river surrounding the castle using a makeshift raft. Yukio orders Sakan to chase Yoichi's group away, which she reluctantly accepts. Yoichi's group enter the castle and meet Sakan, who reveals her brother's plan to marry Ibuki. When they refuse to leave, she orders her maids to shoot at them. Yoichi protects his group by blocking the bullets with his Bakken. Sakan's use of sleeping gas backfires and causes her maids to fall asleep. Yoichi pleads with her to return Ibuki, but she slaps him and disappears. Yoichi's group encounter more guards, and Washizu, Tsubasa, Angela, and Toragaya intervene. Yoichi, Kagome, Chihaya, and Ayam chase Sakan into the chapel, where Yukio is preparing his wedding. However, he and Ibuki escape through a hidden platform. Yoichi follows him to the roof, where they fight each other. Ibuki recovers her memory but falls off the roof. Both Yoichi's group and Yukio attempt to follow, but Sakan holds Yukio back while Yoichi's group falls into the river. Everyone in Yoichi's group survives the fall. Yoichi sends a letter to his father stating his wishes to stay at the Ikaruga dojo. Natsuru Sino wakes up to discover one morning that he is transformed into a woman, upon which a stuffed animal tiger, disemboweled tiger, who introduces itself as a messenger, tells him that he has become a Kämpfer, which must do battle with other Kämpfer. Since Kämpfer must be female, Natsuru transforms into a female version of himself. The next morning, he is attacked by another Kämpfer named Akane Mishima wielding a sidearm. Natsuru protects his friend Sakura from Akane's attack before saving Akane from a falling lamppost. Natsuru is approached the following day by a shy girl who reveals herself to be Akane, who is completely different in appearance and personality when in Kämpfer form. Akane tells Natsuru as much as she knows about the Kämpfer, even helping him when he transforms. Apparently, they are allies due to their bracelets being the same color, blue, hence they become known as Blue Kämpfer, and that their enemies are the Red Kämpfer, who have red bracelets accordingly. At the end of the day, Kid tells Natsuru that she has fallen for his Kämpfer form. The next day, when he goes to Akane for advice, they are attacked by another hidden Kämpfer while in the school library. When Kid suddenly appears in the wreckage, Akane assumes she is the enemy and shoots her gun at her. Natsuru stops Akane from shooting Kid, and the attacker escapes when the bell for class rings. Natsuru realizes that the enemy also goes to his school and becomes wary of the danger and cautious of the other girls around him. He and Akane are interrogated by Shizuku Sango, the student council president, about what happened in the library. Natsuru promises to let Kid meet his Kämpfer form the next day, and Akane and their messengers suggest making Kid hate Natsuru's Kämpfer form, but instead she asks him out. Natsuru discovers Shizuku to be the enemy Kämpfer. Natsuru and Akane have trouble fighting against her, but eventually manage to stop her. Natsuru makes a deal with Shizuku to let her live if she leaves Kid alone. Noticing rumors about Kämpfer Natsuru being spotted, Shizuku enrolls him into the girls' side of the school. Natsuru begins his first day in the girls' side of the school, where he is transferred into Akane's class and is very popular among the girls. Kid confesses her love to Natsuru, but he is unable to answer due to his bracelet flashing. He gets interviewed by the newspaper club, who write a dubious article about him. Kid refutes most of the rumors and things go well until Shizuku starts spreading a rumor that female Natsuru is dating the male one. Natsuru escapes to the library and transforms back to his male form, only to have Akane reprimand and trip onto him. When Kid catches sight of the compromising position, she turns against him and vows to compete to win Kämpfer Natsuru's love. As the cultural festival comes up, Natsuru is shocked to find that Shizuku has entered him into the Miss Saitetsu beauty contest. Natsuru gives Shizuku a shoulder massage in order to be replaced, but after Akane bursts firing her gun, the deal falls apart and Natsuru is still forced to compete. Deciding to go with a karaoke act, he, in Kämpfer form, and Akane go shopping for lingerie, though it gets out of hand when Shizuku decides to help out too. Kid later joins them at the karaoke bar, where she, Akane, and Shizuku compete for the chance to sing a duet with Natsuru. Kid tries to force an answer to her confession from Natsuru, but he is unable to reply due to nearly transforming again back to male form. Akane argues with Kid for trying to confess behind her back, and both of them, as well as Shizuku, decide to enter the beauty contest too, much to the shock and chagrin of Natsuru. The cultural festival is about to begin, and the class dress Natsuru and Akane in various costumes for the Miss Saitetsu beauty contest. In the changing room, Kid interrupts the two of them and once again gets into an argument with Akane. Male Natsuru later meets up with Kid and gives her some encouragement, although she still considers him a rival. On the day of the beauty contest, Natsuru does not have an act, but then Kid comes on performing a skit, throwing a bouquet into the audience. The two of them almost kiss, but are interrupted by Akane in her Kämpfer form, who starts shooting at them. Shizuku then appears and knocks everyone else unconscious, winning the contest by default. After the contest, Natsuru awakes in his male form and his first kiss is stolen by Shizuku. Meanwhile, Natsuru's childhood friend, Makoto Kondo, who had caught Sakura's bouquet, finds the messenger, strangled stray dog, inside it. Natsuru is surprised to find his childhood friend Makoto has returned. When Kämpfer Natsuru heads to school, she is forced to participate in a quasi-maid cafe. She is later accompanied by Shizuku, who warns her that a new Kämpfer will be coming. Kid later joins them, and Shizuku subtly probes her to see if she has any knowledge concerning the Kämpfer and the entrails animals that spawn them. Kid asks Natsuru for a kiss, but she declines and settles for a date around the festival instead. As they enter into a haunted house, Natsuru is attacked by a new red Kämpfer, whom Natsuru eventually recognizes as Makoto. Akane later intervenes and the fight is stopped by Shizuku, who asks Natsuru and Akane to reveal their true identities to her. After everyone gets on the same level, Shizuku agrees on a truce as she wants to find out something. As Natsuru apologizes to Kid for abandoning her, Kid asks her to spend the night at her house. Natsuru, unexpectedly accompanied by Akane and Shizuku, arrives at Kid's house, which has a lot of entrails animals. Kid starts things off with a game involving two people biting through the ends of a pocky stick. Akane's attempts at avoiding Kid and Natsuru being paired together gets her stuck with Shizuku. In the second round, Akane pairs with Natsuru, but he breaks the stick before she can reach. After failing to get paired with Natsuru, Kid ends the game and shows everyone her collection of entrails animals, including a prototype, burnt alive lion. Mikoto then appears, bringing with her some curry, which Shizuka dumps on Natsuru's face as an excuse for her to take a shower. Natsuru is forced to bathe in his female form since Kid keeps peeking in. As Natsuru tries to go to sleep, he accidentally transforms back into his male form just as Kid sneaks into his bed. Before Kid notices him, Akane appears in her Kämpfer form, wanting to convey her feelings to Natsuru. Just then, they are attacked by a white Kämpfer, Rika Ueda, who retreats after Shizuku intervenes. Later on, Shizuku wonders if she's jealous over Natsuru. Shizuku asks male Natsuru to go out on a date with her. While Shizuku is generally insistent that it's a proper date, Natsuru just goes along with it thinking it is a plan to draw out the white Kämpfer. After visiting an aquarium and having a picnic, Shizuku questions Natsuru about why he likes Kid. Hesitating to ask if he suspects a connection between Kid and the moderators, she then talks about the Kämpfer battle, remembering a lost ally. Natsuru has a quick nap with a curious dream, only to wake up on Shizuku's lap, curious as to whether she tried anything while he was asleep. At the end of the date, Mikoto spots them and is not too happy about Natsuru going a date with Shizuku, not helped by Shizuku's honest comments. Akane then comes around his house having heard from Mikoto and asks him what type of girls, beside Kid, he would like. When Natsuru casually mentions someone like Akane, she transforms and gets him to make an oath and go on a date with her. Akane is having a romantic summer date with male Natsuru at the pool. However, Mikoto, Shizuku, and Kid show up as well. At the pool, Shizuku sees 3 white Kämpfers when they walked past Kid. Shizuku sends female Natsuru to walk alone somewhere and is attacked and surrounded by a group of white Kämpfer, who introduce themselves as Sayaka Nakao, Ryoka Yamakawa, and Hitomi Minagawa. Akane and Shizuku rescue Natsuru, and to his dismay, Shizuku essentially says Natsuru was used as bait to get the white Kämpfer to reveal themselves, who end up running away rather than fight them on equal terms. Later, male Natsuru and the girls are having a fun time in the hotel. Akane and Mikoto are in shock that Natsuru went on a date with Shizuku, and Shizuku even goes so far as to kiss Natsuru in front of the others. Kid then asks male Natsuru to come with her outside the room. Natsuru, captivated by Kid's sudden action, obliges without a second thought. Outside the room, Kid manipulates the spellbound Natsuru into obeying her, and they go outside to see the fireworks. Natsuru finds himself sitting next to Kid outside the hotel, who hypnotizes him into making Shizuku his. Kid then disappears when Natsuru, who can't remember anything after leaving the room, is found and confronted by Akane, Shizuku, and Mikoto in their respective Kämpfer forms. They return to the hotel where they are greeted by Kid, who doesn't appear to recall seeing the fireworks with Natsuru either. Afterwards, they all go, with Natsuru in female form, to the women's baths, where Natsuru's hypnotism kicks in and he then brings Shizuku back to the room to make a move on her, but he gets knocked out when he lets slip that Kid told him to do it. It is also revealed in a scene that Kid appears to be in command of the white Kämpfer. The next day, Kid whispers something in Shizuku's ear, confirming her suspicions. Shizuku invites Natsuru over to her house to tell her about Kid, getting Kid's burnt-to-death lion to spill the beans about the Kämpfer system. She recalls that her close friend Tomiko was killed in a Kämpfer battle and has since sworn vengeance against whoever responsible for the establishment of Kämpfer combat. When Natsuru confronts Kid about this, he once again falls under Kid's hypnotism. With Natsuru under her control, Kid and the white Kämpfer trap and capture Shizuku, Akane, and Mikoto. When the 3 of them wake up later chained together, Kid tries to get Natsuru to finish them herself, but he spots a keychain he previously bought for Shizuku and snaps out of it, declaring that he will not betray his friends despite his love for Kid. This declaration encourages Shizuku, Akane, and Mikoto to fight with renewed resolve, enabling them to break free and allowing them to easily defeat the white Kämpfer. Kid tries enticing Natsuru once again, but he transforms back into normal form, putting himself out of the fight and out of Kid's disposal, as well as forcing Kid and the white Kämpfer into retreat. With the battle over, Shizuku, Akane, and Mikoto turn their attention to Natsuru, initially jumping him for trying to make out with Kid in front of them before competing against each other to see who can appeal to Natsuru best with their qualities. Natsuru wakes up on Christmas Eve morning to find out that he and his messenger, Disemboweled Tiger, have swapped bodies. Disemboweled Tiger decides to head on outside to enjoy this occasion and sees Natsuru's friends Makoto, Shizuku, and Akane on the streets, only to notice that they've also been body swapped with their respective messengers. The messengers have fun with their new bodies until they are caught sneaking out on a food bill and are forced to perform in a show. Keed then encounters them and takes them to an amusement park, where they begin to get aroused and play erotic games with her. Keed goes to a church to confess the sin of committing indecent acts with multiple girls all at once, but she just ends up being punished by the student council, who also happen to be working there. The messengers come to save her, but end up fighting each other instead when they discover, to their delight, that they can feel pain. After saying their goodbyes to Keed, they ride off on a sleigh, the whole thing being a bizarre Christmas story.
By the mistake of a god, a young man named Kelvin dies and agrees to be reincarnated into a new world with skills he chooses himself in exchange for all memories except his name taken. Awakening in the new world, he finds he chooses to be a summoner mage, and the goddess of reincarnation, Melfina, is now his servant in the form of an interactive game menu. Arriving in the town of Parth, he joins the Adventurers Guild as a basic mage, keeping his summoner skill secret. As Melfina explains, summoners are so rare and powerful, kings and nations would start wars to acquire him. He takes a job to slay slime monsters, which leads to taming a slime and naming it Clotho, which also gives it a distinct personality. He learns from Melfina before reincarnating he made his summoner class rank S, the highest possible, making him the most powerful living summoner. And as he is still only level 1, he will become even more powerful as his level increases. His skill also provides a massive boost to his summons, as Clotho is now 100 times stronger. Returning to Parth, he is disturbed to find slavery is common in this world, but tries not to think about it and instead rents a room for the night. Kelvin is quickly promoted to E rank. D rank adventurer Cashel, who seeks to humiliate Kelvin, advises him to hunt a monster known as a Black Ghost Knight. With his appraisal skill, Kelvin sees Cashel is titled as a murderer, so instead of joining him, he suggests a contest, Kelvin against Cashel's entire party. Cashel and his criminal party members, Gimul and Raj, to murder Kelvin. Kelvin captures Raj while Gimul is captured by Clotho, who is now evolved into a slime Glatonia, an almost demon lord class monster. Cashel is easily beaten up by Kelvin and confesses to hunting low-rank adventurers for experience, so they are arrested. Kelvin locates the Black Ghost Knight, who already has a personality and a name, Gerard. Gerard is able to explain he was once a human knight, became a monster after he died. After a short duel to gauge each other's strength, Gerard abruptly remembers the kingdom he once served, Alcarl, was destroyed by an elf named Gildora when Alcarl would not help the Lizea Empire destroy the Holy Empire of Doramus. This also caused the death of Gerard's wife and daughter, Betty and Connie, the pain of which kept him tied to the world after he died. The next day, Kelvin supplies a piece of Gerard's armor as proof he completed the job, and combined with Cashel's bounty, is promoted directly to B rank. Gerard joins Clotho and Melfina as Kelvin's newest monster. Kelvin meets Guildmaster Leo, who asks if Kelvin came from another world, showing his appraisal skill is more powerful than Kelvin's concealment skill, so he can see he is a summoner. Leo admits he knew Cashel was a murderer, but as Cashel was a foreign noble, he needed proof, so he is grateful to Kelvin. He also reveals other reincarnations were summoned as the current heroes of the Doramus Empire to face a demon lord, so Leo wants Kelvin to instead focus on the monsters who become more powerful due to the demon lord's influence. Kelvin agrees and decides to purchase a female slave to train and add her to his team. He seeks out the slave he saw on his first day, a beautiful half-elf named Eiffel, who so far has not been sold due to a curse she has that burns those she touches. Purchasing her, he breaks her curse, allowing her to touch people for the first time. Returning to his lodgings, Eiffel is taken under the wing of Claire, his landlady, while Kelvin shows her how to use her previously unspent skill points. Kelvin is unable to sleep at night as he is forced to share his bed with Eiffel. Eiffel becomes a deadly archer and gains an affinity for fire due to her previous curse. She also befriends Angie, a guild secretary. Tabura, third prince of Trison, arrogantly confronts and attempts to grab Angie and Eiffel, so Kelvin beats up his guards. Tabura admits he came to Parth to hire a rumored strong adventurer to boost his poor reputation, but Kelvin reveals he is the adventurer and refuses Tabura's offer. Melfina visits the Cathedral of Doramus to impart a prophecy to Oracle Colette, ordering the heroes deal with a threat in the west and to stay away from Parth. Eiffel tells Kelvin she has fallen in love with him, but Kelvin resists his desire as she is still a slave and he feels he would be taking advantage. Melfina informs Kelvin the four heroes are weaker than she was expecting, as Kelvin has almost surpassed them. Leo sends Kelvin to deal with a demon sealed in a cave. Kelvin finds two demons, the archdemon Victor, guarding a demon girl named Sarah, daughter to the most recently defeated demon lord Gustav. Victor hopes by eating Kelvin he will gain the human ability to break the seal keeping Sarah trapped. He will then eat Sarah and become the next demon lord himself. Kelvin begins smiling, and Melfina and Gerard reveal to Ethel. Kelvin has an unfortunate habit. He is a total battle junkie. The more powerful his opponents, the more excited he becomes. Victor attacks, but is weakened by Clotho draining his magic, and his arms are destroyed by Ephial's arrows and Gerard's sword. Victor assumes his full demonic form, but against their teamwork, he is still defeated. A stone pillar almost falls on Sarah, until Victor saves her. Victor admits he was never going to eat Sarah. In reality, Victor once trained and took care of Sarah when she was young and was assigned to guard her by her father Gustav. Before he was defeated by the hero Gustav, cast a spell on Sarah sealing her away so only a human could unseal her, and Victor has guarded her ever since. As his dying request, Victor asks Kelvin to add Sarah to his party so she can finally see the world. Kelvin agrees and Victor dies peacefully. Despite the risk she will become the next demon king, Kelvin frees Sarah and conceals her demon traits. Gerard evolves into an abyssal knight commander. Kelvin reports to Leo and is promoted to rank A for defeating Victor. Angie organizes a celebration on Kelvin's promotion. After everyone passes out drunk, Kelvin finds Sarah mourning for Victor, who was her only childhood companion. She decides to experience the entire world in Victor's memory, in particular to see the ocean and learn to swim like Victor once promised her. Having tamed Sarah, Kelvin crafts her armor from Victor's armor and also a new sword, Dainsleif, for Gerard. Kelvin has a sudden powerful hunger for rice, so they all travel to the water kingdom of Taraj and its capital coastal city, where rice can be found and Sarah can swim in the ocean. Melfina disappears again, claiming she hopes to possess one of her avatars and finally appear in the physical world. Gerard privately suspects Melfina is jealous Kelvin has two other ladies in his party. On the journey, they are attacked by the bandit gang Black Wind, who want Sarah and Ephial for the slave trade. Sarah enjoys defeating them before Kelvin interrogates them. Kelvin informs Toraj Guild leader Mist. The Black Wind's secret leader is a famous adventurer from Trison named Kristoff, who is secretly involved in the illegal slave trade. For political reasons, they cannot accuse Kristoff publicly until Kelvin realizes the four heroes are in town. By his suggestion, Mist formally requests the heroes look into recent kidnappings by the Black Wind. Kelvin locates and frees slaves captured by Black Wind before easily defeating Kristoff and his lieutenants. The heroes eventually catch up, but believe Kristoff is another adventurer sent to free the slaves and find Kelvin and his team pretending to be the true leaders of Black Wind. Kelvin finally meets the heroes, sword wielders Tuya and Setsuna, and mages Nana and Miyabi. Kelvin challenges them to a fight against him, with the losing side having to obey one order from the winner. Beginning the duel, Kelvin reveals his new equipment Skill Eater, which are gloves absorbing other people's unique skills, and allow Kelvin to use them. Having already borrowed Sarah's martial combat skill, Kelvin next steals parallel processing from Miyabi. Tuya tries to fight on his own, believing it is his job if he is to defeat the Demon Lord one day, until Setsuna slaps him for risking himself and ignoring his teammates. Tuya apologizes and they fight as a team again. Kelvin thoroughly criticizes their amateur approach and gives them hints on how to improve. The heroes succeed in trapping him in an anti-magic trap, so Kelvin uses parallel processing to invent a new spell and frees himself. All four heroes are defeated, but when they awaken, Kelvin explains he is the one who rescued the slaves and Kristoff is the true criminal. The heroes realize Kelvin only fought them to measure their abilities and help them improve and thank him. Kelvin reminds them they promised to obey one order, so he demands they strip their clothes. Kelvin changes the heroes into swim clothes and takes them to a sea cave to train against a giant octopus. Kelvin notes they almost lost to the octopus, so they stand no chance against a dungeon boss, and the Demon Lord would kill them without effort. Sarah locates a dungeon boss dragon. The heroes decide to fight it, which impresses Kelvin with their resolve, so he gives them a break and defeats the dragon himself. The heroes leave, so Kelvin gives them necklaces he enchanted himself. Kelvin is summoned by the Queen of Taraj, Tsubaki Fujiwara, and realizes from her castle architecture and her family name One of her ancestors must have been Japanese. She thanks him for defeating Black Wind and the dragon, and is surprised when Kelvin requests only rice, so she rewards him with a lifetime supply and even teaches Eiffel Japanese cuisine. Tsubaki attempts to hire Kelvin to work for her personally, but he rejects the offer. In Parth, Kelvin purchases a large house, and also hires 2 of the slaves he freed from Black Wind, Ellie and her daughter Luca, as household servants. Melfina returns with her avatar body, and Kelvin is able to summon her into the physical world for the first time. Melfina rewards Kelvin with her grace of resurrection, which can save him from any fatal attack once a month, and also allows him to summon a hero from Japan, but this can only be used once in his lifetime. This worries Kelvin, as it would mean forcing someone to come to this world against their will. He shares his worries with Melfina, who explains the demon lords all possesses the skill Papias, which causes insanity and makes them invulnerable to all damage. Thus, the only ones who can kill them are summoned heroes. Since they come from other worlds, their magic is fundamentally different. Kelvin still feels guilty, so Melfina tells him to only summon people who have already died, so it would feel less like kidnap and more like a second chance. Feeling better, Kelvin decides to reincarnate a hero immediately. Casting the spell, Kelvin summons a young girl named Rio, the strongest hero from all of Japan. Rio, who had been terminally ill in Japan, is grateful to be reincarnated in a healthy body and accepts Kelvin's offer to join his party so she can repay him. As she is the only other person Kelvin has seen with black hair, he decides Rio should pose as his younger half-sister. Rio also decides to change her name to Ryan. Kelvin awakens and finds Sarah, Melfina, and Ryan have all snuck into his bed. Kelvin decides for their own safety, Ryan, Ellie, and Luca should level up. So with his XP sharing skill, he increases their levels without them having to fight. He also tames a shadow wolf as a pet for Ryan, and she names Alex. Uld, another adventurer, joins them in a dungeon with his party, who are slaying monsters for their promotion exam to rank B. Unfortunately, Sarah and Gerard already slew all the monsters. Kelvin learns Guildmaster Leo has put him forward for a promotion exam to rank S. Over several weeks, Ryan trains until she is a capable fighter. One night, 14 assassins enter Kelvin's lands, and Kelvin lets Ryan and Alex fight them as a test. The assassins, former teammates of Kristoff, seek revenge against Kelvin, but are all defeated by Ryan while Kelvin captures their leader. Elsewhere, the Emperor of Tryson is disappointed at Kristoff's failure, as his exposure is an international embarrassment to Tryson, especially with the kingdoms of Gon, Toraj, and Daramis considering forming an alliance against them. Prince Asgrad and General Tristan vote to go to war immediately. General Dan and Princess Shutola vote to wait for better conditions in which to start a war. The tiebreak vote is left to General Clive, who is absent due to indulging his hedonistic appetite. Leo informs Kelvin Tryson has been increasing aggression against Gon Kingdom. Coincidentally, he sends Kelvin on his rank S promotion exam to complete a job for Leon Hart Gon, Beast King of Gon, by slaying a rank S monster to save an elven village. Elven Chief Nelras mistakes Eiffel for his own daughter, Lumil, but realizes his mistake. Kelvin is curious about Lumil, and Nelras explains 20 years ago, Lumil offered herself as sacrifice to save the village from a dragon. The dragon took her as his wife, but years later Lumil was found dead, and fearing the dragon's return, the elves fled to Gon. Kelvin suspects Lumil was Eiffel's mother, though her human father remains unknown, as pregnancy between the dragon and Lumil would be impossible. Nelras reveals the monster has been kidnapping elves, so Kelvin erects a stone barrier around the village. Tryson's soldiers invade with monsters somehow under their command, but are killed by Eiffel using extremely long-range archery magic. Their commander avoids capture by controlling the rank S monster, a Gigant Lord. The Gigant is defeated by Ryan and Alex, only to transform into a flaming gigant furnace. Ryan defeats it again anyway and captures the commander. General Clive appears and almost kills Eiffel, who is saved by Kelvin. Kelvin realizes Clive is strong and feels his battle junkie instincts rising. Clive tries to hypnotize Eiffel into becoming his sex slave, but Kelvin defends her. He realizes Clive is also a reincarnation with a unique hypnosis skill. Clive brags his hypnosis lets him do whatever he wants to anybody for his personal amusement. Angered by Clive's arrogance, Kelvin manages to scar his face, infuriating Clive, who summons a rank S hurricane spell. Kelvin is forced to use his most powerful magic staff, the rank S Black Disaster. He cuts through Clive's spell and severs both Clive's legs. Clive is rescued by General Tristan, who teleports them both away. The elves celebrate, but Kelvin is disappointed the fight was a draw. Tristan has Clive imprisoned and puts his own sex slaves in charge of torturing him for experimentation to see if reincarnations have any scientific value. Kelvin decides he must grow his power even further. Nelras gives Aphil a hair ornament belonging to Lumiel. An elven girl reveals she is actually a disguised Leonhardt Gone and, having seen everything, confirms Kelvin is now promoted to S rank. There will be an official promotion ceremony which includes a mock battle against existing S rank adventurers. Everyone is exasperated when the idea of fighting other S rank warriors ignites Kelvin's battle junkie instincts again.